Welcome to the recording for TSD Mindfulness teaching number 5. I'm going to begin this segment with a review of teachings number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So teaching number 1, TSD Mindfulness objective is to move into perfect relationships by taming your mind, soothing your gut, and dwelling in your heart. So these relationships include the relationship with yourself, with other people, with food that you eat, with money, with God, if you choose to be spiritual in that way. And this perfection is not based on your personal expectations. Instead, it's defined by a system larger than you. We move into these perfect relationships gradually. Teaching number 2 review, anything is either a form of relationship or a form we have a relationship with. So these relationships have meaning and they are sometimes emotional. Our experience in this world is directly affected by each and every relationship that we have with each and everything. So therefore, if we improve the quality of our relationships, we in turn improve the quality of our entire experience. So that's why these relationships are so important. And teaching number 3, we are meant to grow into perfect relationships with all beings, great and small. Basically, what that teaching is addressing is that this moving into these more perfect, more harmonious relationships affects all your relationships across the board. It doesn't discriminate and just pick and choose certain relationships. And review of teaching number 4, logic and survival instinct cannot wholeheartedly be trusted. Really important teaching. Despite the benefits of logic and the benefits of instinct, logic and instincts aren't usually effective approaches when it comes to relationships. So to genuinely improve your relationships, we need to move away from using logic and instinct to guide us, even if it's just temporarily. And the chief reason for letting go of logic and instinct while practicing TSD mindfulness, meaning during our meditation practice while we're sitting and sometimes when we're not practicing, but the chief reason that we do this is to move our consciousness into our hearts. And the heart is not driven by logic. It's not driven by instinct. So if we are using logic, if we're using instinct, we're not really deeply in our hearts. And logic is not bound to supporting our highest good. Logic is not synonymous with good. So something to consider. So that is the conclusion of the review. We will now go over teaching number 5. Divine flow can be wholeheartedly trusted. So let's talk about divine flow. A flowing river is referenced in many spiritual practices by many spiritual teachers, and it could be one of the same as the divine flow that we speak about in TSD mindfulness. Christians refer to living water, which represents an eternal nourishment, giving humans a sensation of complete fulfillment. So that might be a connection to divine flow. Buddhists refer to the river upon which our thoughts flow into our minds and then flow back out. And they use this river to describe non-attachment and peace. And then people who partake in hallucinogenic substances during spiritual ceremony have also talked about a river, seen a river, a stream of energy which supports all that exists. When practicing TSD mindfulness, we can experience divine flow in a variety of different ways. And what divine flow looks like in our lives can be different from one person to the next. You might feel a warm movement in your heart area. Someone else might feel moved to do something that they know is the exact right action to take, but it might not have been the action that they would have come up with on their own. So that would be an action that's not based in logic, not based in instinct. Perhaps you have felt at one point as if a force swooped in and supported you to take action in a certain way. So those would be examples. The purpose of connecting with divine flow is to feel supported, feel renewed, and feel like you have direction. And when we allow divine flow to guide us, we are integrated and whole. We are centered. We are connected to a strong driving force. And divine flow can wholeheartedly be trusted. You can rely on it all the time. Logic is sometimes correct, sometimes not. Instinct is sometimes valuable, sometimes not. Divine flow is always correct, it's always valuable. We purposefully open up to divine flow by taming our mind, soothing our gut, and dwelling in our hearts. To connect with divine flow, it helps to concentrate on dwelling in the heart, really moving your consciousness there is what we're going to be talking about more in this course, and waiting for clarity and trusting the timing of the flow is important. So I'll repeat that. Concentration is important. Waiting for clarity is important. Trusting is important. So I'd like to talk about will again. This is another time that we can be really intentional about our will. We can use our will for concentration, which I talked about before. We also can use our will for waiting and trusting. I've invited you to use your will to concentrate your attention on the object of your meditation. And while practicing TSD mindfulness during the dwelling part, this will is used to stay focused on the subtleties of your heart, to keep your consciousness within your heart. And we will be going over the details on that. When we wait, we use will to stop us from jumping ahead of ourselves and instead simply be in the moment. So this can be really important when you're sitting in your meditation practice, the waiting, sitting there and waiting, not wanting to jump ahead to what's next after our meditation or jumping ahead to what's next in our meditation, but to simply be there in the moment. And will plays a role in trust as well. We can use our will to disengage from our logic, steady our gut, and be in our hearts, right? So this is the practice of letting go of the thinking and really soothing our gut and moving our consciousness into our heart. And we certainly can use will to support all of that. But this is the conclusion to teaching number 5.